I want to talk today from the topic, define the relationship. Will you sit up to somebody and tell them, define the relationship as you're seated? DTR, define the relationship. Define it. We were going to have a video earlier, didn't get to play. We'll play it next week, but Marshall Fields has a book that's out and that we want to support as well. And we had a video about that, but he's not, the video couldn't play today. But define the relationship. There comes a point in everybody's life where you need to define the relationship. And we've been talking about worship all month long. And today's message is primarily, and it's not to excuse anybody else, but today's message is primarily for parents. Parents and your children. I really want to talk to parents and children. Those of you who are not parents, you can apply this as well. But I really want to define the relationship when we talk about Genesis, the 22nd chapter. I don't know if you've ever been talking to someone for a while. Those of you who have dated at some point in your life, or before you were dating, someone was texting you, calling you, writing you letters. I know they don't do that anymore, but people were trying to communicate with you. And at some point, whether that was 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever, you said, "What are we doing? Can you tell me exactly what we're doing? Is this real, or are we just wasting each other's time?" And you had to get to some point where you had to define the relationship. And when it comes to your relationship with God, there comes at some point where you have to really define it and say, what am I actually doing? Am I just attending church? Is what I'm doing actually changing me? Or am I just going through the motions? And if I'm just going through the motions, I don't want to waste time. Have you ever been in a relationship with anybody or had a conversation with anybody where you said, you know what, I've come too far to waste my time? What I have learned in my life that there's a lot of things I can get back, but one thing I cannot get back is my time. There are some people that when I talk to them on the phone, I'm looking and counting how long this conversation is going before I butt in and say, you know what, someone's beeping in. Let me go ahead and get off, because I have learned the value of my time, and I will not be a depository for people's garbage. And there's only so long I'm going to give you to vex me before I cleanse myself of this conversation and move on to what my real purpose is. And there's sometimes you have to define that in your life. And that doesn't mean that you think you're better than anybody else, but it does mean you value your time. And you don't have time to listen to a bunch of garbage and a whole bunch of gossip and all that different type of stuff, because it deters you from your purpose and from your destiny. So someone say, define the relationship. You have to define where we're going. And before we get to chapter 22, I want to look at some of the previous chapters before we even get to chapter 22. How do we get to chapter 22? And in chapter 18, we find that God had spoken through a person, Melchizedek, I believe. He spoke, it wasn't Melchizedek, but he spoke to a guy in chapter 18 to Sarah and to Abraham. And he told them that God was going to give them a son. They were going to birth a son this time next year. And when the word came that they were going to birth a son, Sarah was in her tent. And while she was in her tent and she heard the word that God was going to birth a son through her, she started to laugh. She started to laugh because she felt she was too old to do anything. She felt that she was too old and she was past her prime. And not only did she think she was too old, she didn't think that Abraham had anything left in him to do anything with. I'm going to leave that right there. You fill in the blank and what you want to do with that. But Abraham, she felt, looking at both of them, she said, we're not in a position to be able to do anything. So that's funny to me that you think I'm going to birth something in this age. And there are some of you who are like that right now in your season. No matter what has happened to you, no matter how many failures you've experienced in your life, when God speaks to you in a certain way and says that you're actually going to overcome what you've been struggling with, for some people, you've gotten so comfortable with that thing that it makes you laugh to think that you can actually overcome that. In our small group that we have, our circles of growth, we have a group that Mel and my wife and I are teaching called Freedom. It's a freedom course, and we really strongly believe in circles of growth. But one lady who's in our group, the very first week we had it, we asked for everybody's expectations. What did you feel like you're going to get out of the group? And one lady in the group said that she was afraid of the group and afraid of the name freedom because she had gotten so used to her struggle, she didn't know what her life would be without it. And the thought of her being free from what she's held on to for so long made her laugh. And there are some of us who have so resolved that our struggle is going to be for the rest of our life that it's hard for you to imagine yourself actually free from the thing you've been asking for prayer for all your life. Have you ever had a prayer request that's in rotation? Before you say it, people actually know exactly what you're going to ask because you've asked for it for so long. And then when God removes it from you, you're like, I don't know what to ask for anymore because God has shifted me from that. And that's the whole thing with domestic violence. Once you get out of it, don't go back into the very same thing you asked God to take you out of it. When God takes you out of it, don't go back to that, because some people get out of abuse and then go looking for abuse again. That's even when it comes to church hurt. Some people leave church hurt, and then you go to another situation that's familiar from it, and you think that it's what you came out of, but it's not that, but you define it as that because that's all that you know. So when somebody puts their hand up or someone corrects you or when someone lifts their voice, you automatically go back to the place of wounds, and you think that one thing looks like the other thing, and they're not related. Someone say they're not related. So in chapter 18, it says that Abraham, the Lord, God has spoken a word to Abraham and his wife, and he told them that they were going to birth a son, and they didn't believe it, and they laughed. After that, but he said it was going to be true either way. So whether you laugh or you don't laugh, when God says something, it's going to come to pass. Somebody say it's going to come to pass. So you can laugh all you want to, but when God says something, it's going to come to pass. In the ending of that chapter 18, it says that Abraham had to intercede for Sodom and Gomorrah. Some of you have heard of that, but that was a place that was filled with sin. They were doing all types of things that were against God's will, but he had interceded for that place. The reason that I believe that he interceded for Sodom and Gomorrah is because he had family there. The family that he had there was named Lot. Lot was his nephew. The Lord told Abraham in a few chapters before, I want you to transition from your family, and I want you to get a land that I will show you. Now, the interesting thing about that is that God told Abraham to leave his family. But instead of him leaving his family completely, he took Lot with him. God never told him to bring Lot with him, but he took Lot with him. And there are many of you in this season right now, you can't be completely free. It's because you got a lot in your life. You got a lot going on in this season of your life. And when people say, what exactly can I pray with you about? A lot. What actually is going on with you? A lot. Why are you posting a lot on Facebook? Because you got things that you have transitioned to a new season that God never told you to bring along with. And when you bring a lot with you that God never told you to bring, they are now a liability in your life. And it's hard for you to be completely free when you're still living with a lot. It's hard to be completely free when a lot is still in your phone, or when a lot is still calling you, when a lot is still asking you for advice, or when a lot is still going out to eat with you, or a lot works with you, or a lot is your best friend, or a lot is your sister girl, or whatever. And it's a whole lot of, it's hard to move forward when God told you to separate, but you didn't separate because you felt like you had an allegiance to a lot. Because a lot was once there for you. A lot once did things for you, but now God has moved you on from a lot and said, you don't need that, you need me. But there are some people who want you, he want God and a lot. Lord Jesus. So now Abraham's in a situation where God says, I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. He said, Lord, Lot's there. He said, yeah, but I'm going to destroy the place. He said, well, if you find 50 righteous people, he said, if you find 50 righteous people, don't destroy it. God said, okay, if I find 50 righteous people, I won't destroy it. So God went through the land, couldn't find 50 righteous people. He said, I'm going to destroy. He said, if you can find 30 righteous people, will you not destroy? He said, I won't destroy it if I find 30. He went, he couldn't find 30. He said, if you find 20 people, he said, will you not destroy it? God said, if I find 20, I won't destroy it. He couldn't find 20 people. He said, well, Lord, just get Lot out of there. He said, I will make sure Lot and his family get spared, but I'm going to destroy the city. Do you know that there are some people right now that you can visualize that you are praying for, that you know that everything around them is designed to kill them, but you're saying, Lord, get them out of it. Lord, get them out of that situation. Lord, I know they got a lot of pride going on right now, but Lord, humble them. Whatever you got to do, humble them. I know they think that they got it all together, and as the older people used to say about us young people when we were growing up, we're starting to smell ourselves, and we think we know everything. Lord, deliver them from their own ignorance. Whatever you need to do, save them from what is designed to destroy them. There have been some people in my life before, Mel. There's some people in my life that I dated. I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't headed right, and everybody was telling me it wasn't right, but because I liked it, I stayed in it. And there are a lot of people who like stuff that you know is not for you, but you stay in it because to get out of it means that you've got to do something different. But some people would rather stay where they are because they don't want to be accountable for anything different. I'm just going to stay right where I am. But thank God for the people who prayed for me when I didn't even want to move myself. For the people who covered me and interceded for me. He said, even though Lot is a liability, I still care for him. Have you ever prayed for someone who don't want to pray for themselves? Have you ever wanted change for some people who don't want change for themselves? Have you wanted a better life for people who don't want a better life for themselves? Have you wanted people to get delivered from things that they don't want to get delivered from? So Abraham is saying, I know I'm blessed, but in my blessing, I'm still concerned about this person who is outside of the will of God. Have you ever been in a church service and you know God is touching you, but you're also praying for the people who are not here, also praying for the people who haven't got a touch, the people who haven't got set free because you stepped out of it, but they're still in it. So that's what Abraham's position was, saying, I'm interceding. So Lot got spared. Lot's family got spared. But what happened when Lot and his family left, the instructions were, get out, but don't look back. Can you repeat that after me? Get out, but don't look back. Say that again. Get out, but don't look back. If you don't hear another word, that is the word for you today. Look at someone, say, get out and don't look back. Say it one more time. Get out and don't look back. And I don't know who that is for today, but I want to encourage you today. You've been asking God to bring you out of some things, and when he brings you out, get out and don't look back. Put a t-shirt. Do what you got to do. Get out and don't look back. So the family left the city. The word was, get out, don't look back. But some people are so attached to what they come out of that they want to look one more time, because they have lived in that so long that they get out of it and they want to look better. And that's why some people, you haven't become totally invested in where you are yet, because you're here, but you're still looking back from where you came from to check on them and see if they're okay. So you know everything that's going on in their previous life, everything that is happening when you were connected to them. You know what they're wearing, you know what they're saying, you know where they're eating, and this is what you do. You might not do it, but your neighbor does it. Look at them. Shoot, look, I saw they were at Starbucks the other day. All these different things, you came out of that, you are not associated with it anymore, but you still know everything that's current about them because God got you out of it, but you have a problem with looking back. Am I preaching to anybody today? So they got out, the family got out, but Lot kept going, but his wife looked back. Have you ever been married to something that's not really connected to you? Have you been, I'm not talking about with a ring on, I'm talking about, have you been connected in covenant with something that you're trying to move forward, but they're trying to go back? You're ready to make the next step. You're ready to make the next movement. But this person that you're connected to is not totally convinced that you can actually be better yet. So he said, if you look back, you're going to turn into a pillar of salt. I'm telling you, this is better than any TGI on Thursday. I promise you, it's better than Thank God It's Thursday. I'm telling you. So she looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And he had to wind up going on without her, lest he scoop her up and put her in a bottle and put her on the table. He had to keep going. And there are some of you that you are connected to people that you're trying to scoop up. They are not designed for you anymore, but you kind of scoop them up and take what remains of them. When God separates people from your life, leave them where they are and keep going. When God separates people from your life, I'm going to say it a few more times until you get set free. When God separates people from your life, leave them where they are and keep going. When God separates people from your life, leave them where they are and keep going. When God separates people from your life, leave them where they are and keep going. If you have to mourn for a few seconds, mourn, but keep going. Mourn about what they could have been, but they never became. But keep going. Mourn over the fact that you got comfortable with them, you did ministry with them, but if they don't keep going with you, mourn about it, but keep going. Do not cry over what God has dissolved. Don't sit around crying over what's not anymore. When God dissolves it, let it go. If there is no other word, if I say nothing else for you today, when God dissolves it, let it go. The Bible says that the disciples, when they would not be received into the house, they were given one instruction: to shake the dust from your feet and keep on going. I want somebody to take your shoes out real quick. I hope you got some real polished toes or whatever. Take your shoes and just shake it off real quick. That's what you need to do. Hashtag all over social media. Shake it off. 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 And you have to learn how to do that. And you have to learn. You can shout on Sundays, but learn the gift of shake it off Monday through Saturday. Don't let people's posts bother you. Don't let people's subliminal messages bother you. Don't let people's things they say about you bother you. Don't let people's text threads bother you. Learn the gift of shake it off. You cannot be weak in this season. You cannot be crying in this season. You got to learn how to shake it off. Actually shake the hand of the enemy. And when you let it go, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Learn how to hug people tight. The more they talk about you, hug them real tight and walk off and like, get off of me. I don't have no hater on me. Shake it off. You got to learn how to shake it off. And when you're in ministry, you really got to learn how to shake it off real fast, because a whole lot of people will leech onto you only to try to inject you with their poison. Try to inject you with their poison. But once they get through leeching on you, take that poison out and shake it off and say, God, heal where they try to wound me. God, heal where they try to destroy me. And tell somebody, shake it off. All right. After that, it's chapter 18. Chapter 19, chapter 18, bless me. In chapter 19, it says that God, after that, God rescued Lot, and he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And then verse 20, chapter 20, it says that Abraham goes to a particular place with his wife Sarah. When he goes to this particular place with his wife Sarah, Abimelech, he tells Abimelech that he tells Sarah, tell Abimelech, she was a king, he said, tell him that you're my sister and you're not my wife. So, lest he destroy us. And so she went along with that, and the Abimelech looked at his wife and said, that's a nice woman. He said, oh, it's not my wife, she's my sister. So he took her into his palace, and the Lord spoke to Abimelech and said, don't lay a hand on this woman, because this is the wife of Abraham. The next day, he says to him, he said to Abraham, why did you lie to me? He said, because I thought you were going to destroy me. And there are some of you who you know you're saved, but you keep trying to tell people you're not. You know you're different, but you keep trying to tell people you're not. You know you're not what you were, but you keep trying to become what you were so that people won't treat you differently. And God is speaking to your friends, but he's not speaking to you. Why are your friends more convicted about what you do than you are? Your friends are looking for a different life and a different change, but you are so convinced that you're not messing anybody else up. But there are people who want to change, but they can't change because you're not convinced. I was telling my wife this today, and I won't say where I was, but I was somewhere this weekend, and I can't even say what day it was, because if I say what day it was, those who watch me on social media know where I was. I was somewhere this week at some event, and I won't say what event I was at, but some event, some place I was at. And the thing I was telling my wife that bothered me is that I was asking the Lord, why are a lot of people not getting saved? As far as there are people getting saved, but a lot of places are not. I said, why is it happening? And the Lord said to me, and I wrote it down, he said, because we sing, we preach, and we perform a gospel that hasn't changed us. So we sing it, we preach it, and we perform it, but it's not, if it hasn't convinced us, it convinces nobody else. So the friends that we have that we're connected to are not getting saved because they haven't seen it change you yet. It's nothing for us to get up here. It's nothing for me to get up here. It's nothing for us to make social media posts. It's nothing for that. But when you have a changed life, whether you post it or whether you sing it, people can see change in you. And I'm wondering, when will we start to see real life change in people? I am personally tired of seeing people come to church and then become messy. I am personally tired of people coming to a building, coming to a ministry, and then the ministry is worse because you got there than it was before you got there. I am personally tired of people calling yourself evangelist, prophet, pastor, whatever you call yourself, but why is it that your life is so unstable, but you can prophesy to everybody, but the fact that you actually need a 9-to-5, prophesy a job in your life. I am personally, particularly tired of people who are so deep but can't forgive people, so deep but don't want to submit to anybody, so deep but don't want to subject yourself and help everybody. I am personally tired of deep nothing, mentor nothing. You can't mentor me if you can't mentor yourself out of the sheets. How can you be my mentor? How can you be my prophet? How can you be my evangelist, but you can't help me? Sure can't help yourself. How can you be effective in my life? Look at someone and say, define the relationship. So don't lie. Don't lie to God. More importantly, don't lie to yourself. Don't think that you are more than what you are. The Bible says he who thinks he is great must be servant of all. So if you are that great, you need to be serving everybody. If you are that wonderful, why have you not showed up at the soup kitchen? If you are that wonderful, if you are so much of a prophet, why have you not gone to the jail and caused the prison walls to open up? You ain't that anointed that you can't go visit somebody in the prison. The greater you are, the more you should humble yourself. Look at someone, say, humble yourself. If you are that anointed, it should work everywhere. If you are that anointed, it works everywhere. If you are that anointed, it works everywhere. Someone say everywhere. It does not just work in lights. It does not just work on Sundays. It works everywhere. So as I was saying, that they lied. That's what I was trying to say. They lied. And God called them on their lie. What I have learned, Brother Joshua, Minister Joshua, Pastor Joshua, what I have learned is that a lie travels further than the truth. lies leech on, lies spread, lies destroy ministries, and then later on people find out that was never even true. Because liars love to leech on to inconsistent, unstable people. They love to leech on to people who don't know how to spell their spiritual ABCs. So they get on people who don't. That's the thing about bullies too. Bullies only pick on people who can't defend for themselves. And that is the same thing that happens in the spiritual realm. You put a title behind people's names, and they use that title to leech on people who don't know the word for themselves and don't know prayer for themselves, and they wind up believing anything that you tell them. And then when they believe everything they tell them, then you believe it, and then they go on to some other place, and you still left stuck because you're like, but you said, and they're like, oh, I just wanted to see if you would listen to me. Because liars need an audience. One of my friends told me to slow down. I'm trying to slow down, but this is real good to me. So, chapter 19 of verse 20, chapter 20, I don't know where I am anymore, but they lied to each other, and God called them on it. But it says, and then in chapter 21, after that, it says that here, in chapter 21, the son that was spoken was born. When the son was born, the son that was born named Isaac, it says that they named him Isaac, which means God made me laugh. Which is to say, she laughed at the word, but she actually had to wind up naming her child, God did make me laugh. And there's some of you that I want to just release this for the rest of the year. God is going to make you laugh for the rest of this year. I'm going to say it one more time. For those of you who will receive it, I know you have mourned for the first few months of this year, but the rest of the year, what God spoke to you at the beginning of the year, he's going to fulfill it before the ending of this year. And God is going to make you laugh. For those who will receive it, if you don't receive it, you don't have to. But before December 31st, your breakthrough will not come January 1. But before 31st, whatever God spoke to you, it's going to happen. You will not end the year in a struggle. You will not end the year broke like that. You will not end the year lethargic and going through. God will make you laugh before the ending of this year. Matter of fact, look at somebody and say, ha ha. God is going to make you laugh. Got any Grey Poupon? Ha ha. God is going to make you laugh before the ending of this year. All the lies, all the enemies, all the dart, everything that tried to destroy you, you're going to look at that dart and say, ha ha. Everything that's trying to kill you, you're going to look at it and say, ha ha. Everything that they said about you, the devil is going to be silenced and God is going to be exalted, and you're going to raise your hands before December 31st and say, ha ha, you made me laugh. Named him Isaac. Sometimes you need a laugh. The Bible says laughter is good as a medicine. If you will laugh more, they'll take you off those pills. If you will laugh more, you'll get off of that counseling bed and you'll start laying hands on the sick and they will recover. If you start laughing more, everything that thinks it lasts in your house will leave, because depression will have to go, and laughter and joy and strength and breakthrough and healing and overcoming and breakthrough and money and finances and peace and joy will have to come in your house. Somebody say, ha ha, God is going to make me laugh. Hallelujah. I thank God for the laughter. I have almost died if I did not have a laugh. I would have given up if I did not have a laugh. The more they talk, the more I laugh. The more they throw out, ha ha, God is going to show himself mighty and strong in my life. All right. So God, trying to preach. So God gave them Isaac. They laughed. And what happened, Joanna, after they laughed, it says that a few years prior, the word had came before that they want a birth, but the promise wasn't fast enough. So Sarah suggested to Abraham that he birth a child through her slave named Hagar. Because when you lack patience, You always want to leech onto something that is not the promise. When you're not patient, because you have to be careful of making permanent decisions in a temporary season. You have to be careful of making permanent moves when God has you through a temporary season. So there was a temporary season of waiting, and instead of them waiting in that temporary season, he wound up sleeping or getting with something that was not designed for him. So now fast forward to when the promise came. Now it's a promise and a temporary situation that now have to cohabitate. Because when you don't wait, don't think, because some of you are now living saved, but don't think your unsaved days are not going to creep up eventually. And there are some of you that you really, really wonderful now, but you were real ratchet not long ago. And you think that's why your friends don't respect you, because you became wonderful and forgot about the ratchet. You became wonderful and forgot about your other friends, but they creeping up. They like, oh, you got them serving? So Isaac is now having to be growing up around Ishmael, which is Hagar's child. So now the promised child is with the arranged child. Do you have any arrangements in your life? So the arrangement is being raised around the promise. And Abraham's wife, Sarah, looks at Hagar's child, and she says that Hagar's child, Ishmael, is making fun of her promise. Sometimes, I'm going to tell you this. You know why some people are upset with us, or some people are upset with you? I'm not saying us as a church, I'm talking about people. It's because when you waited, and God blesses you, and other people manipulated, and they thought that they were going to get the same place you were going to get, because they might get there manipulated for a while, but they don't mean they're going to stay there. So they get there, and then all of a sudden you rise up, and when you rise up, they looking at you like, how'd you get here? I got here by God. How did you get here? So Sarah started to look at that child, and she said, cast this child out. Cast the woman out. Cast the woman out. I know I suggested her, but cast her out. Cast her out. So Abraham was upset about that, and Abraham said, okay, well, we got to cast the child out, and God said, go ahead and cast them out. They cast them out, but God still took care of him and gave him a promise anyway. To say that, I want to say that God can still bless your mess. Just because there are seasons of your life that you didn't do what you were supposed to do, don't think that God has cast you away. You might not be where you should have been, but he still has a place for you. That's called grace. Look at someone and say, thank God for grace. I could have been there a lot sooner. Could have been in places a lot sooner. Could have been where I was supposed to be a lot sooner. But God covered my mess and gave me grace instead. I have thanked God for his grace. I have thanked God for his mercy. He covered my wrong. And that's what happened. He said, I know it was wrong, but I'm still going to cover it. So God covered that thing, and God took care of it. And now we get into chapter 22. In chapter 22, it says, after all these things, God tested Abraham. So you mean to tell me all those other things weren't a test? After all of that happened, God tested Abraham. And I want to talk about 3 points, and I'll be finished. 3 points here. And I want to talk to you about your relationship with God. First step is, go to my slide. First thing is, I want to talk about you, go there, God and you. You got tested by God. Now, what is your response to God's test? It said, after all these things, God tested Abraham. And when God tested him, how did Abraham respond? He said, here I am. There are some of us right here that after you have gone through so much, you stop saying, here I am. You start saying, what now? Anybody got there? Where you've been through so much in your life that instead of you constantly saying yes to God, you're like, what else? Y'all don't have to be honest, but there have been seasons in my life, this year included, where I'm like, Lord, what else? What else do you want to do? What else do you want to show me? But Abraham said, Lord, whatever it is, here I am. Somebody say that, here I am. After he said, here I am, the Lord said to him, he said, take your son, your only son. Because, now, mind you, he had two sons. But when he said your only son, I'm talking about the one I promised you, not the one you did on your own. I know you got two, but there's one I gave you and one you manipulated. I'm talking about the one I gave you, the one you waited on. Take your son, your only son whom you love. There are some things, and the reason he said you love is not that he didn't love Ishmael, but there are some things you love when you wait on it. There are some things you love more because you sacrificed for it. You went without to get it. You have a story for it. Some cars mean more to you than other cars. You know how some of y'all are still riding around in that car? You got to start up a few times. You got to pump your brakes a few times. But because you know what was attached to it, maybe your daddy gave it to you, mama gave it to you. I don't know what. Maybe it was the car you went to prom in. I don't know what it is. But it means something to you. And when somebody's like, you need a new 2018. No. No, this is debt free. This is the car I love, but it's always broke down, but I don't pay nobody on it. My insurance is $27 a month. It's so old. And it is the car you love or the thing you love, and it's hard for you to get rid of it when it finally breaks down and you're like, oh Lord, I don't want a car note. I don't want to get into that. So that's what the equivalence was. He said, take now your son. Now the interesting thing about this you, God, and you is that every test before this test was about his relationship with God. But this particular test stabbed him closer to where it hurt. There are some tests that God gives you that hurt you, but then there are some tests that go real deep. Have you ever had a relationship or had a situation or a test that you went through that went real deep and it was just like, oh, that one hurt. Oh man, Lord, not that one. And that was that type of, he said, take that son whom you really love and I want you to give it to me. So Abraham's response, not was only here I am. He said the next morning, it says that Abraham got up early. He got up early and he saddled the donkey. He got the wood. He got up early. He said, all right, let's go. The reason I believe Abraham got up early, and this is my Marioism, that I believe the reason he got up early is because sometimes you have to get up before people can distract you. You have to get up before people start to talk you out of what God gave you. Because you do know that there are some people who are only hearing secondhand what you heard firsthand. And there are some people that when you start telling what God says to you, they were like, oh no, I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should let go. So Abraham, I believe Abraham got up early so that he could not be distracted by anybody. He said, before anybody tries to talk me out of this thing, I'm going to do what God called me to do. I'm going to do exactly what he said. So he got up early, he took the wood, he took the son, and then they started to go on a journey. The next thing I want to talk to you about, that's the first thing, you, God, and you. The next thing is I want to talk about you, your child, and you. All this has to do with you. And y'all like, what does it have to do? Abraham got up early, which is to teach your children how to respect discipline. I was listening to something earlier, Quan, and they said when we were growing up, Quan, how old are you? 36. I didn't know if I could ask your age like that. You know, you don't ask women stuff like that because I got to ask you that. So he's 36. He's a little older. Brother Barry's a little older than all of us. Raise your hand in the back. Brother Barry, you're a little older. But I remember when I was growing up, they treated, Brother Barry can really say this, when I grew up, they treated laziness like it was a disease. There are some people in this generation now that when you say grinding, it ain't because you got a job. You say grinding, I'm grinding, and you sitting on the couch. You say I'm grinding, and you over here Starbucks somewhere, I'm on my grind. You don't have a job. You are not on your grind. When I was growing up, we could not sit in the house all day long and watch TV. When I was growing up, I know this age of social media and stuff, you get to sit on your couch and scroll all day long. My family said, go outside and see what the trees are doing. Go outside. When do I come back in? When I tell you to come back inside. But I don't know what to do. Find something to do. I don't have no internet. We didn't have no Wi-Fi. We had trees and a Frisbee. We made up stuff. I believe that we would heal the land if we would take the phone away. I ain't talking about from children. I'm talking about from grown, anointed people. That ain't the word I want to say. From grown, anointed people, and take the phone away and tell people to get your own life instead of scrolling on everybody else's life. We have more depressed people now because you're sitting there scrolling and you need to go get a Frisbee. Go get a bike. Learn how to ride a bike. People don't even know how to ride bikes anymore. Go ride a bike. I'm sorry. So Abraham got up early. He said, I'm gonna show my son how to get up. I'm gonna show my child how to wake up. I'm going to show my child what to do. And then he showed his son. He said, I'm also going to show you how to get your own wood. He said, I'm going to show you how to get up. I'm going to show you how to get your own wood. I'm going to show you how to get your own wood. And I'm going to show you how to carry the wood, which is the wood meant the cross. I'm going to show you not only how to get up, but I'm going to show you how you're going to have to work for yourself. And how life is not always going to give you stuff. Some things you're going to have to do for yourself. Some things you cannot wait on other people to do it. You've got to do it for yourself and carry your own wood. Look at someone say, carry your own wood. Some of you get upset when they cut off your phone. You don't have a job. But if you get a job, you will learn how to carry your own wood, and you would appreciate, and you could get on the phone with the operator and say, I paid my bill, cutting my phone back on. But when you hadn't paid nothing, you'd be like, I don't know why they cut it off. Carry your own wood. Look at somebody again and say, carry your own wood. He taught him how to get up, taught him how to carry his own wood. And as he went on, and as he went through that, and as he taught him how to do that, he said, after that, this is another thing he taught his child. He said to the servants that went with him, he told the servants, Miss Bridget, he said, look, me and my son are going up to worship. You stay here. We're going up to worship. This is the other lesson he taught his child. Everybody who starts with you can't finish with you. He taught his child how to wear friendships loosely. You can't, I'm going to say this real plain. You can't trust everybody who tries to get close to you. I want that to sink in. Everybody who tries to get close to you does not want to help you. Some people get close to you, want to destroy you. So he told the people that were with him, y'all stay here. Y'all are not called to do what I'm called to do. So he said, you stay down here with the donkeys. We've got someplace we've got to go. So they went up to the front. They went up to the top. And he taught his child how to let go of people who are not for your next level. And for some of you, you got to learn how to let go of people who are holding you back from moving forward in what God wants to do. Let them go. Look at someone, say, cut it. Let anybody go. Let anything go that is not for the next level. And the next thing it says, as they went on, it says that the third day they lifted up their eyes. He said, stay with the donkey. The boy went up to worship. They went up with a burnt offering, laid it on Isaac. When they got up there, the next thing is, go to my next thing, my last point. The next thing is the child, God, and the child. Everything before was you, God, you, child, you, which is I was teaching, he was teaching first. I can't teach you anything if I've not learned it. So the first step was that the parent had to have a relationship with God themselves. That's the first stage. That's what that was about. I can't teach my children anything I don't have. If I don't have it, I can't give it. So he had to have a relationship with God. God challenged him. He then took that relationship, instilled it in his child. And the last part of that other part is when it says you, child, and you. When you teach your child, you've got to teach your child how to respect you. When I was growing up, Mother, we said words that I know y'all don't know these words anymore. But Miss Tina, we learned words like, yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, please, thank you, Mr. So-and-so, like Matt and Christy. I think you're in your 40s. If I were in my 20s, I would never say Matt. I said Mr. Matt. I used to think that Mr. was attachment to their name, but now people come up, hey Mario, woo, you 6 years old, you better, woo, Lord. Who's your mama? Woo, say Mario one more time. But then we got parents who you can't challenge their children. So you can't say, don't call me that anymore. They say, who are you to tell my child? Lord Jesus. Because when I was growing up, we learned how to respect people. Respect was something that was really important to us growing up. We did not just call people by their first name. We said yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and no, ma'am, because we realized that you didn't have to do what you did for me. But now in this entitlement generation, we think that everybody's entitled to a seat at the table. But when I was growing up, you only sat at the table if you were invited to the table. Because there was an adult table and there was a kid's table. And don't you ever confuse where your seat was. Because if a child sat at the adult's table, you like something wrong with your... Before you even said it, the words came out, you're like, I'm going to my table. Do you know how many people I want to just... Come here. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. How many people I want to pray for? You know how many people I want to encourage and lift up? Do y'all know how many people I just want to love with the love of God? So many people. So many people. But the last thing is he had to teach his child how to respect God. Because in order for Isaac, you go ahead and play, I'm through. In order for Isaac to lay down on the altar, he had to first see worship in his daddy. To say, I've seen my daddy do that before. And I don't know what this is all about, but I've seen worship in my house. I've seen prayer in my house. I've seen forgiveness in my house. So I'm only going to lay here because I trust my dad. And I've learned how to trust God because my dad taught me how to trust God. And then after he learned how to trust God, then he was able to hear God. And it says that when Abraham was going to kill his son, it says that because of his obedience, it says that the angel got his attention. He said, He said, there's a lamb over there. It's caught in the thicket. You got to go over there and get it. He said, I want you to replace that lamb with your son. Because now I see that you love me more than you love what I gave you. And I came to give clarity to this whole year for you. Every test you've gone through this year is about one thing. God wants to know, do you love him more than the things that he has given you? Do you love him more than the friends, the attachments, the things that have been in your life? And if you can sacrifice your own convenience for him to say, stop, I just want to see if you love me more. That's what worship is really all about. We told it Todah and Hallel and Tehillah and all that stuff. He said, but really what really it is, real worship is, God, I love you more. More than anything else, more than anything, go to A flat. Anything else, Lord, I love you more. Someone lift your hands real quick, say, Lord, I love you more. Everybody lift your hands one more time and say, Lord, I love you more. I love you more. And when you get to the stage where you mean it and it's not just words, God will release more to you than what you've had in your life before. Whatever you've been tested with this year, when you get to the point where you say, God, I love you more. When you get to the point and say, God, I know it hurts me. God, I know it's been hard and it's been a struggle, but God, I love you more. God, it's been inconvenient for me. God, it's been very difficult. I'm like, Lord, let the season pass, but even in this season, I love you more. I love you more. Keep your hands lifted. Keep your hands lifted. I love you, Jesus. Keep your hands lifted. I worship and adore you. Hands lifted. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. Hands lifted. Come on, make that declaration. Come on, say, I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. I worship and just want to tell you, Lord, I love you. Lord, I more than anything. I've had to lay down some Isaacs in my life. I've had to lay down some real difficult things, but I love you. I love. It's been difficult. It's been hard. October was hard. August was hard. July was hard. But I want to tell you just one. I got real close to some people that really hurt me. Lord, I love you more. I had some friends I shared secrets with. I had some people I told things about, and they used it against me. But I love. They used it to despise me. But just want to tell you, Lord, I love you. Lord, more. I tried to drag people that didn't want to go. Tried to pray for people that didn't want to change. But I love you, Jesus. You've taught me how to worship you. I worship and just want to tell you, Lord, I love you. Lord, I love more. I want you to repeat after me. God, it may have hurt, but I trust you anyway. Say it again. Say, God, it may have hurt, but I trust you anyway. I've learned how to worship you better. I've learned how to love you more. I've learned how to trust you more. Through the people that came in my life, the people that didn't mean me any good, the people that you allowed to come in and test me. Thank you for what I've learned. Thank you for how I've learned how to trust you. If all you wanted me to do is learn how to worship you, if that's all you wanted me to learn how to do is worship you, thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for what you've taught me. Thank you for what you've shown me. Come on, lift your voice one more time. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you. I love you, Jesus. I worship and oh, glory. Lord, I love you. Woo! You can take my house, take my car.